Good evening. A voice crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. The good news is first proclaimed in the Gospel of Mark in the wilderness and not in the temple of Jerusalem. Could it be because all the people, including the poor, the lame, the ruthless tax collector, had access to the wilderness unlike the temple? The wilderness had special significance for the people of Israel. It was a place of preparation for them as they journeyed from Egypt to the land of promise. Joshua's preparation to succeed Moses took place in the wilderness. And Jesus, in preparation for his ministry, went to the wilderness. We are told that he fasted 40 days and 40 nights. So as difficult as the wilderness seems, it has been not only a place of preparation, but a place to encounter God. Jesus' time in the wilderness was an encounter with God. And many of Israel's prophets encountered God in the wilderness. What would the biblical narrative look like without the wilderness stories of Israel's great prophets who encountered God in the wilderness, going as far back as the prophets Elijah and Moses? The story of Israel is a story of the wilderness and a story that in the main took place in the wilderness. They journeyed for 40 years in the wilderness, a lifetime for some people. And we see that Jesus, in preparation for his public ministry, journeyed to the wilderness where he overcame the temptations of the devil. The wilderness was therefore a place of testing, not only for Jesus, but for the children of Israel. As a matter of fact, it is said that the children of Israel tested God in the wilderness by their unbelief and by their behavior and by their rejection of God. In today's Gospel, Mark chapter 1, John the Baptizer appears in the wilderness, helping the whole Judean countryside and all the people of Israel prepare for the coming of the one who is more powerful. That's what time in the wilderness does. It prepares the way of the Lord. Like Israel, there are lessons we can learn from our own wilderness experiences. First, we learn to rely on God to provide for us as he provided for Israel. Secondly, we can depend on God to lead us through these trying times. And thirdly, the wilderness can be a place of spiritual renewal and nurture. According to one writer, the wilderness is not about geography. It's not the geography around us, but the geography within us. It is an interior landscape. There is nowhere to hide in the wilderness. There are no illusions or distractions. The wilderness strips us of all pretense, and we are left to face up to ourselves, to examine our hearts and confess the truth about our lives. The fact is, we often face many difficulties in life. Sometimes we feel that we have been abandoned. We feel that we are all alone. And yet many people can share the story that their hardest struggles are providing the greatest potential to teach them patience and endurance like nothing else can. The fact is, the years that we have wandered in our wilderness may prove to be our most powerful, life transforming, and faith building time of our lives. But we may not fully recognize it until we have passed through and we have entered the land of promise. A voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. My prayer for you, my brother, my sister, is that in these moments when life is most difficult, you will experience God's presence guiding you through the desert into that land of pure delight. Have a good night, and may God bless you.